It's my lazy day, just wanna lazy away. Ain't gonna do a thing for the rest of the day. You can try to seduce me, make me wanna play. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Hello and welcome to the Friday show with me, Paul Mansell. You'll notice I'm on my own. There is no Kev, there is no Abby, there is no Bongo Boy, there is no Nikki, there is no one. They've all disappeared. They've all just gone off doing various things and they've left me in charge. Terrible, isn't it? So what does that mean? It means there's going to be lots of ukulele content. None of this messing around. I'm going to come at you full force with ukuleles. By the end of this show, you're never going to want to see another ukulele in your life. That much I can guarantee. So what am I going to do in today's show? Well, I'm going to give you a little tour of this place here. First, this is my studio where I teach from, so I thought it might be interesting to see that. A lot of people think that because of this, I'm sat in Anarchy HQ, but I'm not. I'm in beautiful Northamptonshire at the moment. So I'll give you a little tour of my studio. Then I'm going to do a little section. I'm going to talk about my favourite ukulele arrangers. Okay, so I'm going to do my kind of top 3 ukulele arrangers. And I'll play you some pieces from those people. Hopefully it will give you some ideas for books and things like that as well. And then finally, I thought I'd just sort of chat about my day-to-day life. So sort of day in, day out, I mix up teaching, performing and writing. And I thought I'd just give you a rundown of what my day's like, really. So there you go. Hopefully that hasn't scared you off. Hopefully you're going to stay and watch, and I'll bizarrely be in the comments. So if anybody wants to ask me anything or give me some abuse, I'll be there. So yeah, we'll start off by having a little tour of this studio. So here you go. So welcome to my studio. So this is where I spend most of my days. It used to be a double garage, and then I converted it about 3 years ago when I moved into this new house. So I'll show you around. So well, we'll start here. There's my amazing Pete Howlett ukulele, and then I split my time between teaching in person, teaching online, performing, writing books, etc. So I spend a lot of time sat at this desk when I'm doing online teaching. So I have a setup here. I've just got 2 speakers, an interface there that goes through my laptop. So at the moment then I've actually got Cubase up because I'm recording some music for someone, and I just have a couple of mics here. Over here, well, we've got a list of gigs that I'm doing next year at the moment, and then these are all my students. I currently have, I think I've got about 40 students at the moment on a weekly basis. They all come for half-hour lessons. Then over here we've just got the circle of fifths. Everybody needs a copy of that. You can see over here we've got various instruments, some of which are for sale. So my dad's always finding guitars in charity shops, so he buys them. I then do them up and sell them to my students, so I know that they get a good guitar or good ukulele, and I make a little bit of money out of it. So this is an interesting one. This is a silent guitar there. So before we lived in this house, I lived in a terrace house and had to play quite quietly. That's a banjo there, a couple of ukuleles, some electric guitars. Then here we have some of my books for sale, and then here this is my kind of what I'm teaching people on a daily basis. So I think that was yesterday. What did I have yesterday? I had 6 lessons yesterday. So you can see here I was teaching someone all about the pentatonic scale, and then I tend to sort of get up in the mornings and do my daily plans there. Here, this is amazing. This is an Andre Segovia program from 1972. When I performed at the Festival of Great Britain, someone very, very kindly, Stan and Andrea, gave me this, and it's actually signed by Segovia on the inside. So I'm very, very proud of that, and I'm looking forward to seeing Stan at the festival next year, actually. Here we have, this is my set list. So that I tend to have a set list of about 2 hours. So if I get called on to do a gig at short notice, I can always sort of draw on it and not end up playing the same pieces week in, week out. Here's a fascinating ukulele that one of my students made me. One of my students called Bill is a very artistic chap, and it actually got a light on the inside. It's a cool little thing, that, isn't it? We've got some more guitars here. That's my main classical guitar. This is a nice little ukulele that I got off of Lynn, actually. That's a silent ukulele, so I keep that. I tend to keep that in my lounge, actually, just for practicing. I think that's where I had a job many years ago, and when I left, they bought me that as a gift. This is a lovely Laiho ukulele that was gifted to me from Laiho. I think that was about 8 years ago, so that's a very nice one indeed. This seat here is where the students' parents tend to sit when I'm teaching them. Over here we have my first ever ukulele. So that is a Macala Dolphin, which I took my diploma on, actually. And then as we shoot around here, we've got a few more guitars on the wall. This is where I tend to sit when I'm teaching my students, when they actually come for lessons as well. Over here we have, I don't know if you can see that. That's a record that I released many years ago when I was in a band called the Electroscopes. And that's the exam sheet for when I did my diploma, actually, which is now, oh crikey, that's 10 years old now. So then when I record videos for Anarchy, we have the same wallpaper here that we have in the Anarchy studio, so it all looks nice and uniform. So that's where I sit when we're doing videos. Okay, so that is my studio. So next section, I want to talk about my three favourite ukulele arrangers. The first one that I want to talk to you about is Colin Tribe. Now, if you haven't heard of Colin Tribe, Colin's done quite a few books through Shocked Publishing, American Folk Tunes, and then he's done these brilliant books which are sort of instructional books, Discovering Fingerstyle and Discovering Fingerstyle Ukulele. This one is the songbook that goes with it. He's done, I don't know how many books he's done about 10, I think, and I've got all of them. If you don't know Colin, firstly, he's a very, very nice chap. He was the examiner when I did my VCM diploma on the ukulele. So he works for the Victoria College of Music, and he does the syllabus for them, the ukulele syllabus. So he's really given a lot back to the ukulele community, actually, and he's an amazing, amazing arranger. So what I like about Colin's arrangements, he does it in a very melodic way. If you look at this version here of English Country Garden, the way Colin normally does it, he has the melody on the top line, and then he always has a chord on 1 and 3. Okay, so he's really got that pulse going on. All of Colin's arrangements are very accessible. I'm not going to say they're all easy, because we're talking about a chap who's arranged the Rodrigo's Concerto for guitar on the ukulele. So they're not all easy, but they are all incredibly well thought through. Okay, so I would say out of all the arrangers I've ever played stuff by, Colin is my favourite. He's done a lot of stuff by the Beatles as well, and I think at nearly every concert I do his version of My Sweet Lord by George Harrison, because it's just phenomenal. And I thought I had to think quite hard what to pick, which one of Colin's to pick to play. But I thought I would play you Here Comes the Sun. I mean, it's an amazing song written by George Harrison. What's amazing about this, when we think of the Beatles, we just think Lennon and McCartney. But the most streamed song by the Beatles is Here Comes the Sun. And I know, I've read about it, that George Harrison really had to fight to get his stuff to put on the album. I mean, imagine that. You write Here Comes the Sun and you've got to fight to get it put on the album. There you go. Colin's version is in the key of A, and it's very, very playable. You can hear the melody, you can hear the chords, you can hear the little instrumental rundowns in the middle. So it's a truly wonderful version that's an absolute joy to play. Colin sells these arrangements as well. So I'll try and put his email address in the comments. So if anybody is interested in Colin's stuff, you can reach out to him. So here we have Colin's arrangement of the Beatles, written by George Harrison, Here Comes the Sun. There you go. What a brilliant, brilliant arrangement that is of a really classic song. So do check Colin out. The next arranger that I want to talk about is Sam Muir. So Sam, if you haven't heard of Sam, she's very much a classical player and a brilliant one, really at the top of her game. I've had the pleasure of working with Sam a couple of times, and amazing, amazing performer. And also an incredibly good arranger. So this is a book that I think actually Colin got asked to do this book, but he was too busy, so he asked Sam to do it for shot. This is a great book. Sam's done, I don't know how many books Sam's done, they're all available on her website. She was very early in arranging a lot of the classical guitarists like Kuruli, Taraga, etc. onto ukulele, and she's got such a great understanding of both instruments. She's also Dr. Uke. She has got a doctorate, I believe from the University of Surrey, on the ukulele. So she's really, really looked into the history of the ukulele and everything that goes with it. The books on her website, you can actually get most of them as downloads. She's done like the Little Book of Kuruli, Little Book of Carcassi, things like that. And for me, it's her classical stuff that really stands out. So the piece that I'm going to play is taken from her book, which is called From Renaissance to Late Classical Era. And it's a Kuruli piece. And what I like about Sam is she's an incredibly talented player, but she can take really basic pieces as well and arrange them and make them sound great. And this piece, even if you're at the beginning of your journey, this little piece is relatively simple to play, but can sound absolutely awesome. So here we go. Let's have a listen to one of Sam's arrangements. So this is Dance Passain by Ferdinando Kuruli, arranged by Sam Muir. there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. So be sure to check out Sam's website. If you just put in Sam Muir ukulele, it will come up and you'll be able to find all of her books and her arrangements. Can't recommend them highly. The final arranger that I would like to talk about is Tony Mizen. Now, Tony wrote this book here, From Lute to Uke. Came out in 2011. It was about the second book ever to look at classical music on the ukulele after Classical Ukulele by John King. So this is quite an early book. Tony is a great arranger. His best book ever is this amazing book called Ukulele, which he wrote with someone very handsome called Paul Mansell. I'm going to promote this now. If you want a book all about duets, this has got about 20 duets in it that Tony and I arranged. We even wrote a couple ourselves. If you haven't got anyone that you can play with, if you're lonely, if you haven't got any friends, you can buy this and you can play along to the backing track. So you'll feel like you've got friends and you'll feel like you're playing a ukulele duet. There you go. So Tony's a great arranger. He was one of the first people to arrange music from the Baroque, Renaissance, classical period that was originally mainly written on guitar, the pieces he did for ukulele. Because Tony's background is classical guitar, this came very easily to him and his arrangements were really, really superb. So unlike the John King book, which was Campanella in style, where he moves across all four strings, Tony's version was much more melodic. Really, really great arranger. The book From Lute to Uke, very, very popular. Got some nice easy stuff in it and more tricky stuff as well. The song that I'm going to do that Tony arranged is called Lagrima, and it was written by Francisco Tarrega. Lagrima translates as teardrops because Tarrega was Spanish and he came to England to perform, and when he did, it didn't stop raining. So he wrote the song Lagrima. It's a beautiful piece. It's one of my favourite pieces ever on the ukulele. When it was written on the guitar, it spans several octaves and it goes all the way up the neck to the 12th fret. And the really clever thing Tony's done is he kept it low down the neck for most of it. So rather than going up to 12th fret, which can be a bit ear piercing on a ukulele, he's very cleverly moved it down an octave. And I've seen other arrangements where they've basically just copied the guitar version, and I don't think they're anywhere near as good as Tony's version. I think he's shown a real understanding, not just of the original piece, but how it should be played on ukulele so it sounds best. And it takes a lot of nerve to take a piece by someone like Tarrega, you know, he's the godfather of classical guitar, and to rearrange it, not just to copy it, to rearrange it cleverly and correctly, in my opinion, like Tony did. So I'm going to play you a piece by Tony now, Lagrima. Have a listen, hope you enjoy it. So I thought I'd talk you through what a typical day is like for me. like all the musicians I know, I don't make a living from doing one particular thing. Everything I do is music related, but I don't just do teaching, just do performing, or just books. And I think all the musicians I know in the ukulele world do that. And I think the reason is mainly you can't, unless you're Jake Shimabukuro, you can't make enough money just from performing. Certainly selling CDs you're not going to make enough money from. So we have to do a mixture of things. And in many ways, I think that's a good thing, actually. I certainly love it. I mean, I love the teaching aspect side of my job. I love the performing side. And I love the writing side as well. So it's a nice mixture. You don't get bogged down in anything. So yesterday was a pretty typical day for me. I had 7 lessons yesterday. So my first lesson is normally 9:30 in the morning. So I normally come into my studio at about 8:30 with a lovely cup of tea. I'll then play for half an hour just to warm my fingers up, and then I'll spend half an hour quickly going through and arranging my lessons. I have a spreadsheet with all my students on, so I know exactly what pieces they're doing. So I can look at the 7 people and say, right, this person is doing this piece, they're going to finish it this week. What piece am I going to do next? Or I know they're not going to finish that piece, so what aspects am I going to work on? So I'll do a plan for every lesson. As a general rule, the way I work as a teacher, I first off, in every lesson, which is half an hour, I play the new piece to the student. So I play it to them and they can have a listen to it, how it should sound. I then, during the lesson, go through it and break down how to play it, what the timings are, how best to fret the piece, etc, etc. They then go away and the next week come back having practiced that piece, and for the first 10-15 minutes we look at that piece. Now sometimes people will get a piece within a week if it's an easy piece. Sometimes we might be working on a piece for 4 to 6 weeks. It depends really. I have students of all different levels. I've got one student who's been playing 2 weeks, and I've got one student who's doing grade 8. So it depends a bit on the student. But I always sort of give students, don't like to call it homework, it's too fun to call it homework, but I always give them something to go away and learn and play. And then when they come back, we look at it. We always then try and get it to a certain level. I'm not overly keen on getting things to an okay level. I think it's important to learn to get things to a good standard. I'm lucky, I have students all around the world. The closest student is about 3 doors away from me, and the furthest is in Australia. So I only started teaching on Zoom after COVID, actually. So once COVID had sort of happened, I started teaching on Zoom, and that's a great thing. It's meant I've got sort of lessons with people all around the world, which is really, really, really fun. So yeah, I've got about 40 students weekly, and they're all half hour. So yesterday I finished teaching at I think I finished at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I then didn't have any lessons in the afternoon until about 7 in the evening. So then in the afternoon I did some work on the books. So currently Kev from Anarchy, he owns the publisher that I'm signed to, Kevin Makey. So we're working on 3 books at the moment. We're working on a collection of blues music, we're working on a book of etudes, and we're also working on putting all of my books out for baritone. Okay, so I did a bit of work. I think I did some work on a blues song yesterday, St. Louis Blues. So I'm arranging that. So I wasn't quite happy with the middle section, so I just did a bit of work on that. And then I might do some videos as well. I don't do anywhere near enough on social media, mainly because I'm too busy teaching and doing other things. But I might sort of do a video like this, or put something out on YouTube if I've got something, not always something to promote. I might just like to put a video out, maybe with a free tab or something like that. And then yesterday I did about 2 hours on the books, and then I did about an hour's practice. So I have a set list, which is about 2 hours long. Imagine that, listening to me for 2 hours. So effectively what that means is if I get asked to do a gig one week and a gig the next week, I don't have to do the same set. So I can sort of play from memory for about 2 hours, so I can sort of do 3 sets pretty much without too much overlapping stuff. I try and practice that set once a week. Doesn't happen very often, but that's what I aim for. So that, you know, if I've got a gig coming up, I've got a gig in a couple of weeks in Northampton, and I don't need to panic to have a practice. I like to be at a sort of decent standard before, so I can just have a real good run into it just sort of prior to the gig. So pretty much that's my day. It sort of goes from 8:30 in the morning, which isn't an early start. I tend to finish about 8 in the evening. Most of my sort of students in the evening are people who work. A lot of if I'm teaching children, they tend to come at about 5 o'clock, and then retired people tend to come in the day. And then people in sort of Australia or America, it sort of depends on the timings really, what works for them. I love the fact that I get to do these 3 different things. So, you know, one week I might be really just focusing on teaching. The next week, like, you know, it's not long, early next year, we're in the Isle of Wight with Anarchy in the Ukulele. So that'll be really fun. And then once the books are closer to being published, I'll have to do a lot more work on them. So for me, it's a really, you know, I don't get bogged down in anything. I don't have to sit and do just books all the time, or you know, just practicing for performances. So yeah, it's a job that I really, really love, and I get to meet lots of people. I mean, my students, I think the longest I've had a student is about 11 years at the moment. And lots of students, they just become friends. So like Lynn, I've been teaching Lynn for, I'm not sure how long I've been teaching Lynn, but, you know, we meet up and, yeah, it's great. These sort of students become your friends, and it's nice. The other thing then that I do is I write a lot of music for different projects. Sometimes they're books that I might put out. Sometimes I'm asked to write so I do quite a bit of writing for the exam boards. And then I've got another project going on that I'm writing with someone at the moment. I thought it might be interesting to talk about how I write on the ukulele. I've got a piece that I've just started that's really early in its formation. So I thought I'd sort of show you how I came up with the idea and what I've got going on. So let's have a little look at that piece. So let's talk about how I write music. So first of all, it depends what I'm writing for. If I'm writing something specifically for an exam board, it might be that they say it's got to be in the key of A minor or C major if it's a simple piece. They might say it's got to be 1 page long. They might say you cannot go beyond the 3rd fret. So if you're writing for an exam board, there's often a lot of parameters that are set. If I'm writing, for example, for a book, then it might be that I've done all the easy pieces, and if it's going in order, I need to write a difficult piece. So I'll be thinking in my head, it's got to have bar chords in, it's potentially, you know, got to go up the neck, etc. If it's an early piece for the book, it's got to be simple, it's got to be accessible. So it often depends on the parameters of what I'm writing for. This piece here that I'm writing, I'm actually writing it for someone who's going to sing over it. Actually, someone's asked me to write some music for them, so I just had that in mind. So I didn't want the melody to be too dominant, okay? And that made me think, when someone's singing over music, it's quite nice just to do sort of arpeggios. You know, a bit like if you think about the Leonard Cohen song, Hallelujah, it's basically just arpeggios of C and A minor. Okay, so I had in my head, I don't want anything complicated, so I don't want to detract from the person sort of who's going to put vocals over this. So what happens with this, well, I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll play you this piece through. It's nowhere near finished, but you can have a listen to what I've done so far. So here we go. So, what's going on here? How I sort of started writing this piece, I was just messing around, I was just playing some chords, played an F, and then normally if you're in the key of F, if you went to your fourth, F, G, A, B, happens to be B flat in the key of F, you would normally go, but I went to the B flat minor instead. Okay, this is a trick that Kev talks about all the time. I mean, Kev's got an amazing sort of knowledge theory of music. My theory is nowhere near as good as Kev's, but this is a little trick that sort of he taught me, really. Although I must admit, to reverse engineer this, when I did it, I didn't specifically think I'll go to the fourth and make it a minor. It just sounded nice, really. So if I was playing it, F, B flat minor, it just sounds beautiful. And as soon as I basically accidentally played that, and I thought, right, what can I do with that? And then I went back to the idea of the piece and thought, I'll arpeggio it. So initially I came up with just adding a B flat note there. Because I'm in the key of F, I know adding a B flat will work. Played around with that for a little while and then realised it was dangerously close to an etude by Tarraga called Etude in C, which is a beautiful, beautiful piece, but it was too similar. So I thought, okay, although that's in a completely different key, but the picking pattern was a bit similar. So what I then did, I took the F chord and thought, I'll do a forward and backward arpeggio. Put it in 6/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Rather than just doing that twice, I'll add a note. So I just added a B flat. Then I go to that B flat minor. And I thought I want to echo what I've done in the first bar. Think of it as call and response when you're writing. If this is your call, your response, so all I'm doing is taking that chord and adding a note. So effectively you've got F with an added B flat minor with an added C. So what I often do is just come up with a chord run like this. And then think of a picking pattern. Might be that I do or something quicker. You know, something like that. Then think, what notes can I add? So obviously, you can just play around with it. I mean, I know that I can't add a C sharp. It'll sound awful. But you don't need the theory. Just play around. Take your F. What note can I add? Oh, I can add that note. Sounds nice. I can add that note. Just play around with it. So if you get a nice chord sequence, try arpeggioing it. Even if you just go... and then just try adding a note. Sounds nice, doesn't it? So after I'd got this little bit here, I then thought, okay, I want to echo that, but a bit further up the neck. So I went to this little chord here, which is effectively a G sharp. And I'm then adding a D sharp there. After playing that, I thought it'd be really nice to make that a minor. Use the same sort of trick that I've done with the F, go into a minor, go from this G sharp to a minor as well. Okay, so going to C minor, I think. So that's the second bit. I then thought it'd be nice to have something a little bit edgy, so I went to a 7th chord. But a lot of this is just from playing around, just what sounds nice. And then I'm always thinking, before I go back to the beginning, if I'm on an F chord, I really want to have what's called a perfect cadence, going from 5 to 1, F, G, A, B, C. So I wanted to sort of have C, and then go back into F. haven't managed to work that in yet. And the reason I haven't managed to work it in is after my G sharp 7th, I went to a C sharp. And then that gives me a problem to run down to C because it sounds a little bit sort of chromatic really. So effectively that's how I've written this piece. I haven't finished it yet. There's a couple of things that I'm not happy with, but it all just came from 2 chords. Everybody writes music differently. Some people, you know, Paul McCartney often wakes up and has a dream about writing yesterday or something. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? That'd be a good dream to have. Most people I know who write music noodle. They just sort of fiddle around until they get something nice and then start knocking it into shape. So whenever I get an idea, you can see this is the music that I've actually tabbed out here. So I use a program called Guitar Pro, which isn't expensive. I think it's about 50 quid, and you download it onto your laptop. And all you do in effect is then program in the music, and it sounds complicated, but it's not, because you do it from tab. So I just program in those first 4 like that. You need a little bit of music knowledge, but to be honest, a lot of it comes from trial and error. I mean, when I did my first book 8 years ago, and I'd say that my music knowledge is a lot better now, mainly from just doing it, to be honest, just getting on and doing it. So I really advise you to get something like Guitar Pro. There's free versions of it around as well. And then you can just write your stuff down, because otherwise you tend to never finish anything. So that would sort of be my advice. So there you go. That's just a little bit on sort of how I write and what I'm up to at the moment. So there you have it. That's been this week's Friday show, brought to you by little old me. Hope you haven't missed the others too much. Hope I haven't bored the pants off you too much. Normal life will be resumed soon, won't it? I must say, I watched the show with Nikki, and isn't she great? Isn't she a great presenter? I think she should do all of these, really. Thought you might like to know that Abby and her little girl are doing very well. I've seen some pictures and she's absolutely beautiful. She's doing really well, so we're really missing Abby and looking forward to seeing her back soon. Kev's on holiday. He's wearing his Speedos currently in Lanzarote, but he'll probably be tuning in just to check that I've done this. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I thought I'd play you out actually, because there's not been enough ukulele on this show, has there? So this is another unfinished piece. Actually, it's nearly finished, this one. It's nearly finished, but it hasn't got a name. But thought you'd like to hear this little piece. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.